on the Balibalistic dedicated flipper. I got this on a passaround by Connor, so I wanted to thank him for letting me be a part of that. It's always nice being part of a passaround because, like I said, if you don't really get involved with the community and you don't really interact with people, you miss out on a lot of opportunities to handle some pretty rare and exclusive knives that, you know, for some of us just simply are not obtainable. This is my personal Balibalistic Lum Tanto, which I reviewed a little while ago, and took me a few years to get my hands on one. So, you know, at that pace, my YouTube channel would really have very little content, you know, so very cool to get in on this. Now, this one in particular, the dedicated flipper, has been talked about for quite some time. Shawn has been, I think, you know, Conger and maybe some people who are a little bit more in the know can correct me, but he's been making stuff that's a little bit more geared towards flipping, but he really just started doing a sprint run of the dedicated flipper series very recently, and now I think they're now kind of, or maybe within the past 6 months to a year, they started actually getting to the hands of their rightful owners. So I've been wanting to handle one for a while, so this is pretty exciting for me. I actually am on the list for one, but you know, as you know, it can take quite a while before a custom knife can actually be completed and get to your hands. So this is pretty cool to preview it. Now I'll go over. I have here my Lum Tanto and the dedicated flipper, just to kind of compare the two. I have the Midtech Alpha Beast here, just kind of compare the size differences, just so you guys have a bit of a reference point. We'll start here at the latches. They're the same, the typical Balibalistic latch with the pin through it, pretty much identical. I would say mine, the Lum Tanto, has it's more flat here, whereas the dedicated flipper has just a little bit more of a dome up here, but not too much of a difference. He also has the cutout here, so it has clearance. Now here's where the biggest difference is, and the biggest difference for the dedicated flipper has over many of the other Balibalistics that Shawn has made. The spacers here, as you can see, are much longer, and on top of that, they are stainless steel. Now, as you know, flippers like to have a lot of weight at the back end of the handle. So what he's done is he's lengthened it and then also used a heavier material. And you can definitely feel it when you're flipping. This thing carries a lot more momentum when you're doing rollovers and handling it generally. But at the same time, I didn't notice that it was sluggish in any way. It's kind of weird. It has a feel of a stainless steel Balisong, actually. I mean, as far as like the way it swings, and the weight and the momentum, it kind of feels like it's made out of stainless steel, but it has a little bit more speed because the handles are titanium, and he milled out a lot of it here. These are very large, pretty much the largest hole you can put through the handle, and he has it all throughout the entire handle here. Mine has a slot, so I guess that's a pretty big weight savings too, but pretty well balanced. So let me just get close here. The spacers here, I don't have my calipers, but the spacers here and let me just take a look. Handles are, I think the handles are roughly the same thickness. I know Shawn narrowed mine down a little bit because that's what I prefer, but these are definitely more narrow than his typical build. The dedicated flipper, the handle, the stance, the thickness here is definitely thinner than his standard build, because I've handled several of his other Balisongs, and I can tell you right now, this is closer to to a 42. It's almost exactly like a 42. You can tell it's a little, the Alpha Beast here is thicker, but this is a mid-tech, so this is built a little bit thick. And the spacer here actually seems like the spacer's thinner than the standard build, well, on my Lum Tonto anyway. No pocket clip. If I had one, if I ever do, you know, make it on that list, I actually probably would still prefer a pocket clip because I just like to have it, an ability to carry with me. You guys are probably going to kill me because I haven't opened this up yet. Alright, look at that. Absolutely beautiful grind. The camera just can't do it justice. Let's see if I can't get close up here. Look at that. Really just, I like this grind a lot. I love the Lum Tonto because it's very unique and very aggressive. This is a little bit more simple, but I mean, it's simple in an aggressive way. I can't really explain. I don't really know what you would call this blade style, to be honest with you. Feels like a hollow grind. Very sharp, as all of Shawns' knives are. And just for comparison's sake, whoop, let's not cut myself here. The stock is looks like it's slightly thinner. I think he went with a slightly thinner stock than his standard. This is much thinner than his standard build, only a little bit thinner than my Lum Tonto because I asked him to go with a thinner stock. But this is definitely thinner just to kind of lighten up the overall knife's weight and to kind of help balance it a little bit. But I love this grind. And you know, this grind would probably be not bad for, oops, I think I just cut myself. This grind would not be too bad for an EDC actually. The Lum Tonto, not the greatest blade for EDC because this doesn't go up high enough in my opinion. Only goes up about halfway of the blade's height, but this goes all the way up, so this is very usable. It has a nice belly to it. I kind of skipped over the pivots. I believe they have stainless steel bushings, which is pretty cool. And if you see the difference here, mine has the Zen pins, hidden Zen pins, right there, see? And these use the traditional tang pins. I really like the look of Shawns knives when he uses tang pins. He's very, his standard build for most of his knives are the hidden Zen pins. So this is nice little change of pace. And you can feel a little bit, like I've always noticed with balisongs that have tang pins, they have a little bit more bounce to it, and you can tell a little bit with these. Yeah, it is a very well built knife. Now, as far as how it flips, I will be honest with you guys. I didn't flip this as extensively as I normally do in when I get a passaround knife. For one thing, it's with the higher end customs, I tend to take it easy, a little easier. My filming area now is over hardwood floor, so you know I try to. I didn't go too nuts. Also, this grind is just wicked sharp, so a little bit more reserved. But like I said before, you can tell its handling is the best way I could describe it. It feels like a lightweight stainless steel balisong. I know that sounds kind of weird. It's kind of like those two words don't really belong, but these spacers go up pretty high compared to a lot of knives. So it feels like the weight is really in the handle. Like if you have a stainless steel balisong, you can tell that the weight is just all throughout the handle. But because he rode these up so high, you can kind of feel the weight a little bit more throughout the handle, and not too biased in the end. But at the same time, because these are titanium handles and there's a lot milled out, it still feels very nimble. Don't know the exact weight, but it doesn't feel like heavy like a stainless steel balisong at all. It actually still feels relatively light. The only thing I noticed, and this is really just because my primary flippers are a mid-tech Alpha Beast and a production Alpha Beast, as soon as I got this in my hands, I noticed the handle length difference. Although, technically speaking, these are about the same as the 42. So, would I say they're too short? For me, maybe a little bit, just because I'm so used to having such long handles compared to the Alpha Beast. But, you know, the 42 has been a pretty standard length for flipping for a while, so I wouldn't say that they're, you know, like a Camaro or something where it's noticeably too short. Maybe that's not the best comparison. That's about your difference right there. I mean, you wouldn't think this would make much of a difference, but it does. I mean, I noticed it right away. As soon as I picked it up and started flipping, I noticed it. But overall, it's another excellent build by Shawn, Balibalistic. I really do hope I land one eventually. Compared to flipping the dedicated with my Lum Tonto, this is definitely a little bit easier to handle. There is a big difference. This blade has a lot of material here. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a fault of the knife. I mean, this is the exact grind I wanted when I got this knife. I wouldn't change anything about it, but just due to the nature of it, because it's a slightly thicker stock and because you have all this material that's not ground, it is a little bit blade heavy. Or not blade heavy, but blade bias, I should say. Because look how much is cut out of that handle. That's a lot. These are all tie, and the spacers are tie, and look how thin look how little material is there in the spacer. You know, it doesn't ride up high like it does on the dedicated flipper. So you get a little bit of a bias towards the blade, and it made it a little bit harder to do certain moves. This is not a flipping knife to me. You know, this is just my grail knife. But this I could see myself flipping. This I really could. It has a very unique handling, but much easier to flip than the Lum Tonto. So there you have it. That is the Balibalistic dedicated flipper. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. And as always, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.